All right. So I am here joined by Sam Smith, director of The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Got it in one. How are you?
I'm good. I'm nervous. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah. We'll edit it out.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
Great. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Warmed up now. Can you tell us a little bit about the show?
Yeah. It's an adaptation from a kid's book by Kate DiCamillo, and it's a really good adaptation. It tells the story super clearly, but it's about a China rabbit, a doll, more or less, and it follows his journey. He's Edward Tulane.
Okay.
And it's about all the different people he meets along the way and the different families that he gets to experience. And we get to watch him learn how to open up his heart to other people. And then what happens when he experiences loss.
Wow.
And then him deciding to open his heart up again. And it's kind of something we all have experienced in various ways. And it's interesting to see it through the lens of a toy that can't, move or do anything on his own. He's not a puppet.
Yeah.
So it's definitely an interesting thing
Very
to
cool.
tackle. But
I'm getting the Velveteen Rabbit feels from it. Kind of. Yeah. Very cool. Interesting. So can you tell us a little bit about what is it, a comedy? Is it a drama? What are kind of the feelings of the play that we're going to see?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, so Kate DiCamillo is a traditionally children's book author, but this is one of her darker stories, and we're definitely taking this in the direction for an older audience. We're welcoming families and everything, but
it sounds like the themes of like love and loss are definitely like more adult themes, but
more adult themes,
being dealt
absolutely,
with through a toy, like a more child. That's a very interesting idea. So it's more for families than
more
just
for families, definitely
young kids,
adults, not taking it through
adults.
the vein of like a children's. It's not theater for young audiences.
Sure.
Any means.
Yeah. It sounds really interesting. I mean, so we all have the kid inside of us, but we all deal with those heavier things. So that's really cool. Yeah. What makes you excited about it? What drew you to this play?
It's just such a clean, clear story of love and loss, and I think after this past year and a half at this point, and what we know what's to come, it's just such a kind story, I think, for ourselves, something to make ourselves feel like there is a light at the end of the tunnel and there's something good that's going to come out of it. And this isn't a political thriller or anything. And there is a huge place for that, especially in today's world. But I think this is just a nice moment that we can all take together and all have a shared experience with.
Some nice classic storytelling. I'm excited. The theme of this season, Are We There Yet? How does this play tie into that theme?
Yeah, I think I got pretty lucky with the title, Miraculous Journey.
Right? You can picture Edward Tulane sitting in the back seat of his parents' car saying, Are we there yet?
Yeah, are we there yet? No, it's a great theme for a season, and especially paired with this show. Are we ever at a place where our hearts are open enough? Are we ever willing to open our hearts again? Are we ever going to get past a loss? And every step of the way, we feel that it kind of like chugs along. And there's a lot of imagery of like stars and just looking forward towards things and seeing where we can get, and is it worth it in the end? And I think that it is. And that's the hopeful ending that we all want, but a lot of times need to be reminded of and need to take our time to get there. And Edward does just that. It takes him a very long time. And each step of the way, it almost gets a little bit harder, but it's still worth it. And I think that that's the message of the story.
When does the show go up at NHTP?
It's November 19th to December 5th.
Very cool.
Yes.
Anything else you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, just kind of jumping back to Edward's journey and the theme of the season. It's interesting to note that Edward, because I mentioned he's not a puppet, he can't operate independently. He's very much at the mercy of others, and I think at times people feel that way also. And there are many moments throughout the show where Edward is fully alone and he's at the bottom of the ocean, or he's been kicked off of a train and he's just out out on the ground and under the sky, and he doesn't know if anyone's going to come around to help him, and he can't help himself in those situations. So I think that it's just an interesting point that he's dependent on others, but it's in order to love others. There's like a give and take there, that he does give a lot. I mean, how many like stuffed animals or toys from your childhood that do you like have fond memories of? And
so many.
They give you a lot, and they're inanimate. But he also needs things from others, and I think his journey is going from realizing that from thinking he doesn't need anything from anyone else to realizing that he does, and that he also has a lot to give.
Forgive me, I know nothing about this play.
That's okay.
Is Edward Tulane played by a person?
There is an actor who voices Edward Tulane. In the script, it's written as the musician. And then specifically when he's speaking Edward's lines, it's written as Edward. But I don't know if we'll go in the direction of a musician or not. It's kind of fun and up to interpretation.
Cool. Excited to see where that goes.
I'm also excited to see how much that actor is in the action and how much he is off stage.
Is there an actual toy that's going to represent Edward throughout the show?
Yes.
Is that very cool?
Yes, so we're going to be working on that. There might be a couple versions of him, but yeah, because he goes through quite a bit. His clothes change, and he gets a little weather worn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So the rest of the cast is playing off of a toy for the most part. Very cool.
Yes.
That's going to be interesting.
So they can't actually hear any of the lines that our Edward is saying. So he's there for us as the audience, which is really cool.
Interesting. Very interesting. Cool. Can you tell us a little bit about what the concept of the show and what the staging of the show might look like? What we might see if we come to see this show?
Yeah. Right now we're tossing around some ideas with the production team about having some tangible elements of Edward's life. We want to have like the props and the set be reminiscent of like a memory or a story or like, I guess I want to have an aged look to it. It is an older story. It's just when you read it and you hear it, that's the vibe you get. And I just want to play into that. A vintage feel, absolutely.
Yeah. Comfortable.
But there's something very tactile about memory and shows for me that like you can remember exactly what something smelled like and it brings up a memory. You can remember what it felt like and it brings up a memory. And I want to really include that because we're really shaping Edward's whole sense of the world. And so I'm going to try to play with some sense, like being able to smell things.
Very cool.
Olfactory.
Love that.
Hopeful that works and it translates to the audience. And
it's one of the senses that you don't often get to explore in theater as an audience
member.
And
I just want it to be like really all consuming the way that like your memories of your childhood are and memories of reading books when you're little. And
there's not much more that evokes a bigger nostalgia than an old toy that you have fond memories of. Absolutely. Like you're saying, the feel of it, the smell of it. Yeah. It absolutely can just snap you back to a certain place.
So that's the goal. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time watching pieces of furniture move on stage. I just want it to really flow the way that his story flows. It really goes one thing to the next for him. And when it pauses, I don't want to be distracted by anything. I don't want the audience to be distracted by anything. I want them to be able to live in it with him.
Lovely. And you said there's a character called Musician. Does music play a large part in the show? Or?
There is some music. It's interesting because it's not I don't think it's vital to the telling of the story. There isn't music when you're reading the book, and the book is very similar. Sure. But I think incorporating music and movement together whenever possible, whether it's sound effects or live music, I think all of that we'll kind of discover that with what our actors are able to do and what they're willing to learn and what we can play with and what our sound designer has ideas for and can come up with. And
Very cool. Thank you so much again for joining us.
Thank you.